Hi, before we begin, a quick content warning on this one for a brief discussion of past child abuse. If you'd prefer to skip that, it lasts from about 3 minutes 10 seconds to 3 minutes 35. You will not miss much. Okay, enjoy. Nin, I really don't think this is a good idea.
Nonsense. It's going to be fine. Just be your normal, charming self, and she'll help you see what you can't.
I was hoping you'd come by.
Go! I'll be right over here.
Clover? Pleasure to meet you. I'm Theo.
Good sir, drinks for my friend and I. Alas, I am a little short. A halfling joke I've heard a lot. Might you be a kindly sort and pay for these, since I cannot?
Of course.
Poetry, the food of love. Words both fair and true. Tell me, friend, do you enjoy hearing a verse or two?
I used to. Not so much anymore.
Well, all have heard of your recent success in epic tales, but me, I hope to go deeper, learn some new details. I hope to share your life in full, from start to current day. The inside scoop, a true tell-all. So, what do you say?
Sure. Let's do it.
Let's start at the dawn of your life. You were a babe in arms. Your parents, were they kind to you? Or did they do you harm? Sweet living parents make for poor ballads, it's sad to say. If they were good, perhaps they died in some cruel, tragic way?
Well, unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to disappoint out the gate because my parents were wonderful. They cared for me, provided for me, supported all of my interests, even when they didn't entirely understand. They were nobles, so their duties kept them away from home on occasion, but even then, I had a wonderful staff of nurses and tutors and maids in their absence. I was never in want of anything, and I certainly never doubted their love.
Yes, I see. Understand. I simply do my best to write compelling openings. Please don't be distressed. When you were young, did others tease you, bully you, poor dear? Or were you much beloved? Or source of other children's fear?
I honestly didn't have that many friends my age growing up. Living on a large estate, the grounds are always full of people, but not normally of children. But I spent most of my time playing with the boy who lived the estate over. His name was Elliot. Such a sweet kid. But he was always so sickly. In retrospect, there was probably a reason for that. He wasn't nearly as lucky on the parental front. His father was terrifying. It seemed like he had new bruises every time I saw him. One time he showed up with a broken arm, said he fell out of a tree, but I wanted so badly to protect him, but we were just kids.
Now, many heroes of the past had destinies, it's said, born beneath a prophecy or curse upon their head. At first, did you believe that you were meant for greater stuff? Some auspicious dream or even wish would be enough?
My parents used to read me bedtime stories every night. All the old tales of dragons and justice and knights in shining armor. We both loved them, Elliot and I. We actually had a system. I would memorize the stories as best I could when my parents read them, and then the next day I'd tell them to Elliot. Our favorite was The Tale of the Dragon Slayer. Have you read it? It's the one about the princess who was kidnapped by a dragon, and she waited for someone to come save her. But when no one did, she decided to save herself. I always loved it because it was one of the few stories with a female hero. But I think it was Elliot's favorite because it gave him hope that one day he'd find a way to escape his own dragon. Anyway, I was always inspired by those stories, so as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a knight. At first my parents thought it was just a childhood phase, understandably. But I didn't give it up as I got older, and eventually I asked them if I could go to the Knighthood Academy. I wanted to be a hero, you know? I wanted to be that hero for Elliot.
can work with that. Let's jump a bit ahead. How long was it before you left your home in childhood bed?
I left when I was 14. That's the age the academy takes new students.
When you went, how did you feel? Joy or some malaise? Did you hightail it out of there? Reflect with wistful gaze?
It was scary, to be sure, to be on my own, and I really didn't want to leave Elliot. But I knew it was what I needed to do. And I was ready to see more of the world, get out from under my parents' roof. Plus, I finally got to meet other people my own age, really for the first time. So I didn't spend too much time missing home.
Now is the part in any tale where you'd have learned your trade. You must have had some teacher, trainer, some to give you aid. If not, please dig. Your victories were fated. Every hero has a mentor, even if exaggerated.
Well, I had plenty of wonderful teachers at the academy, but my first true mentor didn't come until later. Actually, hey Nin, do you want to come over here?
Hi, what's going on?
Clover, this is my girlfriend Nin.
Oh, pleasure to meet you.
I was just about to tell her the story of how we met.
Oh, I love this story.
I know you do.
Well, please continue.
So, I spent 4 years training at the academy, and they taught us all sorts of things. Dueling, of course, but also military strategy, jousting, even etiquette. And of course they stressed the values of courage, justice, honesty, duty. When I graduated, I was ready to return home, confront Elliot's father. But instead, they deployed me. I guess the king decided it was time to march south, invade Orc country. They gave me a middling rank and 2 days to prepare, and then we set out. I saw so much of the world, its natural beauty and the people living simple lives subsisting off of it. And I saw the absolute disregard with which the army treated all of it. We cut down forests, burned meadows, trampled through people's farmland. It was abhorrent. It went against every virtue I'd been taught. I tried to fight them on it, but they were never going to listen to a new recruit. Eventually I decided I couldn't be a part of it anymore. So I deserted. Took my horse Luna and my army-issued equipment and ran off into the Splinterwood one night. And promptly realized that while I'd learned plenty about fighting and strategy, I'd been taught exactly nothing about survival. The Splinterwood is brutal, and 2 weeks later Luna and I were utterly lost and on the verge of starvation. And that's when Nin found me. Do you want to tell the next part?
I do. So, I was on patrol that day, and out of nowhere I felt this breeze. It didn't seem to disturb any of the leaves around me, but I felt it, clear as day. Almost as if it was pulling me towards the thicket. It was the strangest thing, but shadow ears are taught to trust their instincts, so I followed it. And what did I find? This one! Dead asleep in a field of poison ivy. She was damn lucky she had her armor on, or her recovery would have been a lot more difficult. Anyway, after I woke her up and realized she was very unwell, I took her back to the Shadow Ears camp.
The Shadow Ears, by the way, are a religious order of Myliki, the Lady of the Forest, and we protect the Splinterwood in her name.
Thank you, that is important. So I took her back to headquarters and explained the situation to the High Priestess. She was wary at first. We don't normally take in outsiders, but I explained that Myliki had led me to her. We were meant to find her. And after the priestess heard why Theo had run, she agreed to let her stay while she recovered.
It was whiplash, to be sure, to realize that my reckless and frankly stupid actions had somehow gained me the favor of a god. I was a bit resistant at first, to be completely honest. I kept talking about how I needed to go home, But frankly, I couldn't. I was a war criminal now. I couldn't just march back into the capital city. It was hard to accept that, for now, Elliot would need to wait. But the more I watched the work of the Shadow Ears and talked to Nin, the more I realized that this was a chance at a greater purpose than I'd ever had before, far greater than working for the army. So when I was finally recovered, I asked Nin if she would train me to be a Shadow Ear. And the rest is history.
What would you call the greatest lesson learned during this time? What skill or understanding would you take into your prime?
Well, I finally learned how to actually survive in the Splinterwood. Nin showed me all of the edible plants, the basics of how to hunt and trap, how to navigate by the position of the sun and the stars. She also taught me everything I know about faith. I was never really religious before I joined the Shadow Ears, so it was her that showed me what it means to devote yourself to a higher power, how to find that connection, that faith, and to trust in it. We had a lot of long talks by the fire during that time about purpose and duty and balance.
And I'll add, you taught me plenty too. Everything I know about hand-to-hand combat is thanks to you. And we worked on developing our magic together. We were both new to spellcasting at the time, so having a partner to practice with was immensely helpful and encouraging.
To be clear though, we didn't get together until much later. Not until after everything.
And when you now reflect, how do you feel about that stage? Do memories warm your heart, or do they fill you up with rage? Some youths, you know, will look to ballads as they plan what's next. Should we then encourage them to follow in your steps?
If there is anything I've learned from the path I've taken, it's that you'll only end up where you need to be by forging your own path, not following someone else's footsteps. Every good thing that has ever happened to me happened because of a choice I made, independently of what I watched others do or what was demanded or expected of me. So no, I don't think anyone should follow in my steps. I hope that instead they would consider their own values and follow the path those values lead, regardless of whether it matches the path of anyone else.
Now, I must describe you, how your features are designed, so listeners can picture our bold hero in their mind. Great poets can bring imagery to bear with every line. Describing you will surely help my skills in this field shine. What color would you call your eyes? For then I could compare their lucid depths to molten honey, spring leaves, or stoneware.
Nin, what color are my eyes?
Gray,
Gray.
like the metal of a freshly polished sword glinting in the
Oh
sunlight.
my gods.
Like storm clouds rising above an angry sea.
Okay, now you're just fishing for me to return the compliments.
Oh, I have no doubt you will later, but right now we're talking about you, dear.
How would you describe your build? A rippling muscled mass? Shapely curves or towering high? A slender blade of grass? We needn't worry quite so much about accuracy. The goal is just to make you sound like quite a sight to see.
I mean, I suppose I'm a little taller than average, and I'm fairly strong.
She's very strong. You'd be lucky to see her without her armor on. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's quite impressive.
So yeah, I'm tall and strong.
Now, say a fan who loves my work should happen into you. Might you have a catchphrase or a banner they might view? How could they recognize you if they stumbled across your path? So they could have a portrait made or get an autograph.
Actually, I do have... This was the army-issued shield, so it had the Owington insignia on it. When I joined the Shadow Ears, I painted the unicorn over it. That's my Leaky's symbol. I keep it touched up to this day.
You should really prepare yourself for fame to come your way. My ballads, well, they top the charts. At least, they will someday. I hear you've lately had a victory of great renown, but every bard will sing of that. I would dig further down. Please think of some past venture that will never leave your mind, that's shaped you, that your memory just cannot leave behind. Victory or tragedy, yes, either will suffice. Winning's good, but it's dramatic if you pay a price. Set the scene. What triggered this adventure at the start? Seeking revenge, some artifact? What made you first take part?
Well, the first battle I fought with my party comes to mind. You weren't there for this, Nin, but I had just met them outside of Knifeblade Cape Town, and to be perfectly honest, they just seemed like a bunch of hooligans. They kept going on about this evil wizard who was going to destroy the land and only they could stop them with these 5 artifacts, and I didn't believe them. Anyway, 2 days and a couple of carnival games later found us fighting this 20-foot-tall skeleton monkey made out of the bones of other monkeys, and suddenly their stories seemed a whole lot more plausible.
Now it's time to introduce the villain of the tale. Who stood between your party and your goal, hoping you'd fail?
His name was Sazamaso Sorkor, and he came to power about 15 years ago before allegedly being killed. We don't really know the specifics of his goals, but we do know that he was planning to achieve them by basically draining life out of the land itself.
Now, how did your opponent look? The visuals are something many poets overlook. I hope they had some facial hair. A villainous goatee? Perhaps all right they had one. It makes them sound beastly.
We never actually saw him until the end. But truthfully, he just looked like a guy. It turns out he'd been inhabiting the body of our cleric, Linelvi's late father, who he used to work with before they turned on each other. So really, he could have been a person you'd pass in the market. Except for the eyes. His stare was cold, emotionless. Like not a drop of empathy was left in that husk of a person.
And why did they oppose you? What did your foe have to gain? Could they be sympathetic, or do they want to cause pain?
I've only ever seen eyes like that on one other person. And that was a person who enjoyed breaking children. We got him out, by the way, Elliot. Years too late, and I was no help at all in that particular venture, but Nyx, our rogue, she got him out. He lives with my friend Kelrin now. They're happy together. Gods know they both deserve it. But no, there was nothing redeemable about that man. The only thing to be done about a person like that is to end them.
I'll share with you a secret, known to writers truly skilled. There must be stakes. Your reader has to think you might be killed. What weakness do you have that might have caused you to be beat? What could have ruined everything and brought on your defeat?
My entire life, I dreamed of being a hero. And marching into that final battle with my friends and the entirety of the Shadowers behind me, I felt like I'd finally done it. But it turns out it was all a delusion, because when it came down to the line, I broke.
Theo, you did not.
No. She needs to know. I had 30 people under my command. 30 people willing to lay down their lives and looking to me to make sure they wouldn't need to. And I couldn't do it. I nearly sent Nyx to her death, and then you and I got separated, and I just broke.
Now, for the final moments, the dramatic ending scene, I must invoke your senses. What was felt and heard and seen. What can you still remember from the moments at the end? The scent of smoke? The dying wheeze of one you once called friend?
Well, I'd be able to tell you a lot more if I hadn't spent the entirety of that battle unconscious. I mean, what was I thinking, charging at the most powerful wizard in the land with a sword? I was out in seconds. Like I said, I broke. I was stupid. And because of that, I left all of my friends, everyone I cared about, unprotected and without a leader.
Whew. I really think this poem's headed for acclaim. Soon every hall and tavern will be ringing with my name. I mean, your name. Now, it needs a title. Something noble. Something grand. Do you have a better name? Something not quite so bland? Some call me Clover Honeytongue. Not many, but still some. By what such name would you be known, if you had such a one?
No. No,
The Dragon Slayer.
No, Nin, that's
That's
not...
what you told me you wanted to be called as a child.
Yeah, but
You know, she killed a dragon.
I didn't kill the dragon, Nyx killed the dragon.
But you were there. They couldn't have done it without you.
That was childhood delusions of grandeur. It was just fairy tale. I don't believe in that stuff anymore.
Well, this has been delightful. I'm sure this tale will wow. This will be great exposure. Truthfully, you owe me now. I often take commissions, yet I'm writing yours for free. Make sure to tell your friends, in case they'd like such a story. Wait, is that the guard? I actually have to go. I just realized I'm very late for something very important. Goodbye. Must fly.
See, this is exactly why I didn't want to do this. She's gonna take my story and twist me into this grandiose, heroic figure that's just not true, and then...
Theo.
And then children are gonna read it and aspire to that. And then they're gonna grow up and face the realities of the world and realize that all those stories that inspired them, gave them hope and purpose, they're all just made up. Adventure isn't glorious, justice doesn't always prevail, and heroes don't exist.
I'm sorry. I thought this would help.
Let's just go home, okay?
Alright.
Thank you. I appreciate you trying.
One day, you will see yourself the same way she sees you. I'll make sure of it.
We'll see.